morning, my fabulous Sonder fam. Happy Saturday. Happy last weekend of June. I'm really not sure where this month went. I cannot believe July is starting on Wednesday. And so that is why we're going to wrap up June. We call it the June weekly setup, but you could obviously start in July. There's only 2 days that will be in your June journal. This whole week will be in your July journal as well. So I kind of straddle both journals because I started doing some things in the June journal before I got my July journal. So, excuse me, I kind of have to go back and forth, which is not horrible, but again, remember, if I ruled the world, all months would start on a Monday and they would only have 28 days, and then everything would be neat and tidy. And we would just have 13 months, which I feel like is fine. But until that happens, we just have to make do with our quirky living in two worlds, those kinds of things, right? So, if I have not met you yet, my name is Maya. I am here in Aurora, Colorado, a suburb of Denver, where it's going to be 95 today. Eek. It has been getting pretty warm, but we've been having some rain and some storms actually in the afternoons, which has been kind of interesting. It's good to get the water because we certainly did not get the water this winter. We did not get a lot of snow. So I see a lot of you talking about how it's going to be really hot. Yeah, no fun. But I will be up in the mountains for part of the day, up in town of Bailey. They have a little Bailey Days kind of celebration with food and vendors and music. And so I'll go up there and with my family, and that'll be fun. And it will definitely be cooler up there. And then I will be back though this afternoon/evening for our monthly setup, right? We are going to get ready. Jennifer O did a monthly setup last night, which I think that recording's probably up if you want to watch that. And then I will be doing a monthly tonight. Katie's going to be doing a monthly tomorrow morning. And then I think I'm doing the weekly tomorrow night. I'll be with Katie in the morning. And then we've got another like weeklies and monthlies. It's always like these weekends where we're doing lots of weeklies and monthlies. It's kind of like, woo, we got a lot of socials going on. So feel free to join as many of those as you would like. Again, we do record all of these, put them up on our YouTube channel for you to watch. The only downside to that is that the fun chat is not there. And I know lots of folks are we share lots of great ideas in the chat. Lots of people kind of share what's going on in their lives in the chat, which is always so fun to see. So, but that is not in the recording. So an incentive to try to make it to the live events if you can. And if you notice, they did do an update in Zoom. You can like react and reply directly to people's comments. If you haven't done the update yet, it's kind of obnoxious because it will just kind of say like so-and-so reacted to this or whatever. And sometimes the chat kind of pops around. So speaking of the chat, if the chat is stressful, we usually have around 100-ish people here. You can turn that off. You don't have to participate in the chat at all, right? You don't have to worry about microphones or cameras. None of those are on for you. It's only myself. My fabulous co-facilitator Bailey is there in the chat. She said her Zoom decided to update randomly on its own today because don't you just love how computers and technology just sometimes does whatever it wants. So just kind of, this is your time, right? So do what you need to do for you. Some people like to come and they really enjoy hanging out in the chat. They make some notes about what they want to do in their journal, and then they finish that up after the call is over. Some people, it's kind of like nose and journal. They continually focus on that. They just completely ignore the chat. Some people do a little mix of both. Again, that's why we have multiple setups. Sometimes people are like, well, I come to the first setup and hang out in the chat. And then I come to the next setup and I kind of participate in the chat, but I spend a lot of time in my journal. And then I come to the next setup and then I spend all the time in the journal, right? So it's, again, this is your time. You do what you need to do. You do you. No right or wrong way to do this at all. There is a right or wrong way to do the chat though, right? You want to make sure that you have that set to everyone. If it's not set to everyone, the only people that will see what you write are myself and Bailey. And if you just want to talk to myself and Bailey, you can have it do that. Zoom has a really obnoxious tendency if you're on like an iPhone or an iPad to keep flipping back, even though you set it to everyone and you send your message, and then it'll automatically flip back to host and panelist. I don't know why it does that. Maybe someday they'll fix that. But just know if nobody's responding to your question, it might possibly be because you had it go to just host and panelist. So make sure that is set to everyone. And then our other community guidelines, just to make sure this is that safe and supportive space. Everyone here usually is so very supportive and lots of great ideas and so creative. We just want to make sure that you're kind and courteous both to yourself and others. No promotions or spam. We respect everyone's privacy. What we talk about here in the social kind of stays here in the social. No hate speech or bullying. We try to limit those repetitive product and accessory questions. We try to focus on the task at hand. Sometimes I know we tend to do some little side conversations, which is fine, but we try to keep it kind of focused on the setup because we do have a limited time here together. Any of those customer care inquiries all go to our headquarters folks at hello@silkandsonder.com, and they are a Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 Pacific time group. So if you send them an email today, they probably won't get back to you until sometime on Monday. So a little patience is always appreciated. Bailey and I don't have access to your account, so we can't fix things like updating billing addresses or credit card information, that kind of thing. So all of those, hello@silkandsonder.com. And then remember, ultimately, these socials are a tool to help elevate your emotional health through the power of community. And we do have a fabulous community here. But ultimately, you're responsible for your own emotions, well-being, and decisions. So if we're working on something that just isn't your jam, feel free to do what you need to do, right? Maybe you want to work on a journaling page. Maybe you want to do some coloring while you're here hanging out. If the music I play isn't your jam, you can mute that. If my voice isn't your jam, you can mute me. We have closed captioning enabled so you can kind of keep up and know what's going on. So again, really take this as your time. Do what you need to do, right? I always just try to emphasize that. I know sometimes people think they are supposed to do things a certain way or they have to do things a certain way. And really, this is you, right? Do what you need to do. We are here to support you and be here for you. So thank you for saying that I'm your jam. So we're kind of finishing up with flow. I think it's been kind of interesting to see how some folks have kind of approached that this month, kind of seeing what that looks like. And I loved somebody posted this little quote about, I'm a total go with the flow kind of person as long as the flow is scheduled well in advance and there are no mid-flow changes whatsoever, which I think is hilarious, right? Because that's totally not going with the flow. But I totally get that, right? Like I always want to be this like go with the flow, kind of like whatever, I'm easy. It's all fine. And then it's like, wait, I thought we were going to do this. Wait, what's the plan? Wait, why is this happening? So I get that sometimes go with the flow is not quite the vibe that you're able to deal with. So totally appreciate that. Let's see. So just check in there in the Sonder Club. Yeah, Meredith said I saw that in Sonder Club and it's 1000% me. Yeah, I think it's a lot of us, right? Like we want to be the go with the flow, but the flow has to have kind of a schedule and we need to know it ahead of time. So this morning we are going to work on our flow mind map. We have our last question there, our last little prompt to work on there. We're going to do our rosebud thorn activity, which will still be in your June journal. If you don't have a June journal, if you just started with us, if you're new, I should probably ask that. Is anybody new, brand new to Silk and Sonder? You can just say like I'm new here, or put that in the chat, or say this is my first social that I've been to. We want to make sure to welcome you. I know I see a lot of familiar names in the chat. But yeah, so you can always do this on a blank piece of paper. You can kind of do this on sticky notes, whatever, but we do like to do that rosebud thorn, and then we'll set up our weekly pages. And if you've been with me for a while, I always like to remind you of a couple things. First of all, there's room for you here just as you are. Happy, celebrating things. Things are excited. You've got a great weekend going on. We love to hear all of your excitement and great things that are happening. We know life isn't always a series of ups. Sometimes there's downs, sometimes there's illness, sometimes there's job issues, sometimes there's family drama. We just did a family trip with my husband's family, and his family doesn't bother me, but he gets stressed out. And then when he gets stressed out, then I'm stressed out. So I know family drama can be quite the thing. And then also the way you feel matters, and no emotion you feel is bad or unworthy. So nobody can tell you, oh, you should be happy about this, or oh, that shouldn't make you mad. I mean, our feelings are just how they are, and we're here to kind of identify them and sit with them and figure out how to incorporate them into our lives to make us kind of these better people as we grow and learn more about ourselves. So let's get started. Again, this is the last week. If you haven't done the first 3 weeks for the flow mind map, don't worry about it. You don't have to catch up. You can if you want to, because I'll show you all 4 of the prompts. And you can put this anywhere. A lot of times people, when they set up their mind map, they divide it into those 4 quadrants. They like to use that back page because it's really, really easy to find. And then divided into those 4 quadrants. We'll always have 4 specific mind maps specific to the theme. If the month decides to have that obnoxious 5th weekend, we do a bonus mind map that can kind of go anywhere, and it kind of sometimes will incorporate like the last several months themes or something that is just a little more general. So just know that's kind of how that works. So this is going to be week 4, and we're going to talk about being in the flow. And the question is, if I fully trusted the natural flow of my life this summer, what kind of person would I allow myself to become? And I think this is a great thing to just kind of sit with. And sometimes these questions, you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know, right? You're like, I have to think about it. So I'll play a little bit of music. Just kind of think about it. Trusted that natural flow of your life. What if you just kind of followed your intuition, if you allowed what was going to happen, and then what kind of person would I allow myself to become? So thinking about your future self, what are you going to look like in September? Right when when September rolls around, summer is over, what kind of person would you like to become? And how do you think maybe trusting that natural flow might allow you to be that person? So I will be quiet. I will play a little bit of music. Feel free to share in the chat kind of what your thinking is around this question. The last 3 weeks are there too. I always tell people grab a little screenshot if you want to do them later or work on them later. And I know a lot of folks will post them in Sonder Club in case anybody misses anything. But we are now focusing on week 4. We are in the flow. We've been talking about flow all month, right? So what kind of person are we going to allow ourselves to become? So I will let you work on that, and we'll check back in and keep moving on. All right. So I know that was a short little amount of time, and I know this is kind of a thought-provoking question, and maybe some of you are still kind of sitting with it and thinking. I know some people were talking about maybe I would like to be, if I trusted that natural flow this summer, I would like to become this a person who maybe is a little more social, maybe find some more connections in real life. Maybe I saw there is a new I can't remember what it's not a cat cafe, but it kind of sort of is, but it's and they're because they're going to have eventually cats for adoption, but it's kind of like a hangout place for grown-ups, right, to maybe meet people. So they have one cat that's like the shop cat, and then they have like board games, and they have crafting areas, and I want to go check it out because it's not too far from me, and it sounds like this really fun couple who moved here from Alaska, and they were talking about how hard it is as a grown-up to make friends, and especially if you have remote jobs, you're working at home, you don't ever see anybody. So really kind of thinking about that. So maybe that's something you can kind of search out in your community. Are there any places where there's these gathering places? Maybe it's there's places that kind of like do pottery, and they have kind of a community set up there. Any of those kind of crafting things, and that's the other thing. Sometimes getting a hobby can be super helpful in meeting other people in real life, right? Because you go to the store to buy your hobby supplies, right? I'm a avid knitter, so like I like to go to lots of places and buy yarn, but you always kind of meet people, and so that's always kind of fun. I saw Corey said she had been kind of having a tough time getting into the theme of flow, right? But she started doing some sewing and kind of starting to feel that as she's doing that. Because really, arts and crafts and things that you're doing with your hands, things that are very physical, sometimes it's even like being out in nature, walking, gardening, working in the yard, those kinds of things are always super fun. Oh, Corey said she has a friend in Alabama who opened a place like a gathering space. They have dirty sodas, game nights, crafting times, mahjong. Yeah, kind of Google around and see like what kind of places there might be that you could go to find folks. And I know some folks here are kind of introvert, right? So it's kind of like that's why you like these socials, is you can kind of hang out in the chat, and it's a little low stress kind of thing. But maybe that's the natural flow, right? You want to meet new people, you want to have folks that you can kind of talk with, and those kinds of things. So maybe that's something that you want to see what that feels like. And again, this is a good question to just kind of sit with over the week, right? What would it look like if you followed that natural flow? And as we move into the savoring, right, for July, I think that goes really nicely with that, right? So like savoring your time, savoring the moment, those kinds of things. So thanks for spending just a few little minutes considering this mind map question. And let's move on to page 50. And that is in our June journal. Again, if you do not have the June journal, do not worry about it. You can do this anywhere, scratch paper, sticky notes, those kinds of things. We always just want to spend a few moments just reflecting on this last week, kind of what we did, what we saw, where we went, and kind of how our feelings went around that. So we've got a rose, a bud, and a thorn. I like to start with the thorn, which is the challenge, the frustrating thing, the thing that might be out of our control, the thing that we can't really do a lot about. I like to start with that to kind of get it out of the way. And so for me, I work in a school district, and you would think it's summer. I'm year round. There's a lot of us that are year round, a lot of folks taking vacations. But we've been having so many meetings trying to plan. We have to plan for the start of the school year, right? Which we start in the end of July. We have all the teachers coming back, and then the kids come back in the middle of August. And so there's just, I don't like meetings. Um, so that's been kind of my thorn. The bud is something that you're looking forward to, something exciting, something that's fun, something that makes you happy to kind of have there to look forward to. So we leave Wednesday night. We are flying into Baltimore, Maryland, and then we drive to Ocean City. We'll have some beach time. We do this every year. We almost didn't do it this year, but we decided we really needed to because my husband has some relatives back there that are getting up there in age, and we don't know how many more times we can see them. So we've got that coming. So that'll be fun. I always get lots of books read sitting there on the beach. And then our rose is a highlight, something fun, something exciting, something that made us smile, something positive, something happy. So we went to Taos last weekend. It was kind of have a combo, my birthday trip and my father-in-law's for Father's Day, right on Sunday. And then coming back, we drove. So New Mexico was lovely. I don't know if you've been to New Mexico. I've been to Albuquerque before, but I hadn't really been to Taos. We went to Santa Fe. And then when we were driving back, we drove back a different way. We came down I-25. And so driving back, we went a different way. But we crossed over the Rio Grande El Norte National Monument, which this picture does not do it justice. If you have not seen this, I highly recommend it. They say New Mexico is the land of enchantment, and I believe it. The landscape was just amazing, and the sunsets were amazing. It's very magical. I can totally see why so many creative folks. The flow was everywhere, right? There was just lots of folks in flow, and this gorge is just huge. It is. We were driving over it, and I was just going, "What? What is that?" My husband was laughing because he's seen it before, but he was just cracking up at my reaction. Of course, we had to pull over and, kind of walk to the edge and kind of look. And it is so deep, and I can't imagine people coming across way back in the pioneer days and coming to this just gorge, right? Because obviously the bridge would not have been there. I can't imagine what that must have felt like. Like, oh, we got to cross that? I don't think so. Um, so anyway, so that's my rose, my bud, and my thorn for the week. Feel free to share in the chat in your rose, your bud, or your thorn. I'll play just a little bit of music, let you work on that, and then we'll check back in and keep moving on. All right. Thank you, everyone, for sharing those rosebuds and thorns. And I think this is just such a great activity to do every at the end of every week because we are always so, if you're like me, always rushing, rushing, rushing to the next thing. It's so good to just take a moment, reflect back, and kind of see what was on your mind, what happened, what kinds of things were going on. And also, a lot of times I notice that my thorn, in when I look at past journals, like I go back a few years and look at some of the thorns, those things are gone, right? Those things are not things that I really have even thought about. They've kind of passed through the ether, right? And so it's kind of one of those, it's a good reminder that this is just a part of your life. It is not the whole, right? So it's nice to just kind of say, okay, this is a little slice of my life, a little slice of the week. I know I have lots of other life going on, and just kind of recognize that and be thankful for kind of what things are, and to know that things will probably change, because that's the only thing that's constant is change, right? uh, right, so let's dive into our weekly planner. Let's set up those two pages. And if you're still using your June journal, that's pages 52 and 53. If you have decided you wanted to move into July, it's pages 26 and 27. Like I said, I'll probably be doing both, a little bit of both in there, just because I had started doing some other things in there before I got my journal. And I'm still doing lots of reading. I know a lot of us are big readers. And for me, I'm trying to figure out what books do I take for my beach reads, because we'll have probably Thursday on the beach, Friday, and Saturday on the beach. So it's like 3 days. And I can usually go through at least one book, sometimes a couple in that time. So it's always good to kind of have, I probably bring way more books than I need to. But anyway, and I did want to highlight this. This was from last year, and I don't remember who it was, but she did a Disneyland vacation, and she kind of changed up her whole weekly spread, kind of crossed over some things, put in her flight plan. She had her Disney goals, what attractions she wanted to see. She's got stickers across the habits and activities, because she's like, no, that's not going to be a thing, right? She's got a little what happened today for that meal planner. So she's just going to kind of track like what that looked like. If she's bored in the airport, she gave herself some ideas of things she can do. And then she had a really nice back home reset, right? Shower, nap, unpack groceries, track the finances, pack the school bag, do some laundry, right? I think that is so great, kind of having this nice little, this very nice plan for after the vacation, right? So it's kind of how I like how she set that up. And of course, with all the fun little Mickey stickers. So we love that. So the first thing that's there on that page is this week I want to feel. So we always take just a few moments to think about how we want to feel for the week, what we want to kind of feel going forward. So maybe it's one word like lucky or confident or seen, present, powerful, loved. Here's some examples of some things that some folks have done. Accomplished and control and peaceful. I want to feel back in the groove. I want to feel flexible. I want to feel mighty. And they have a cute little Mighty Mouse. Susie wants to feel in sync. I love that. Magical, creative, light, and airy from letting go. Maybe if you don't want to do this week, I want to feel, you want to say this week, I am. Very powerful statement to say, I am. So maybe you want to say, I am unstoppable. I am unique. I am dependable, right? Kind of thinking of what that looks like. Or maybe it's, I am on vacation, right? I will be going on vacation Wednesday night. So then the part underneath that, and I'm going to kind of go over all the parts on this page. So just kind of work on them as you feel. I want to make sure you kind of see what all the different pieces are to kind of see what makes sense. So we'll go over all the pieces on this page, and then I'll give you some music, some time to work on it, and then we'll do the next page. So our weekly major 3 goals. I don't know why that is always so hard to say. Weekly major. I always want to say weekly 3 major goals, and that's not what it is. Anyway, maybe it's things like breathe, reflect, and set an intention. I also found this nice little graphic that says little ways to start this week off right. So remember, not everything is urgent. Don't compare yourself to others. Take a proper lunch break. Practice being kinder to yourself. Only do what you can manage. Wear what makes you feel good. Spend time with people who lift you up and give yourself something to look forward to. That bud, right? There's a lot of research that talks about giving yourself something to look forward to really helps with motivation, and it helps with kind of that happy, satisfied feeling. Maybe you want to keep the flow theme going. You want to look back at those June intentions and kind of pull this in. Or if you did the monthly setup last night, you've got your July intentions. Maybe you want to look at that, or that monthly habit tracker. Maybe you want to set up some no goals, like some no alcohol or no doom scrolling, no eating out. Those kinds of things. Maybe you want to maybe look at last week or last several weeks and kind of see what you want to accomplish. Maybe some outstanding goals that you didn't quite get to. Maybe you want to frame it around a personal challenge. So maybe it's something like a fitness challenge. So you want to tell yourself every morning when I wake up, I'm going to do one push-up, or I'm going to do one squat, or I'm going to do a plank for 15 seconds, right? You have kind of that little fitness challenge going there, or cleaning and decluttering, which I know a lot of us are the never ending battle. Speaking of never ending story, right? Maybe it's some self-care. Maybe it's like you want to try some new soups or salads or a smoothie, kind of thinking of some new recipes. And I love this graphic from Cozy Nerdy Things. I use a lot of her graphics because she's just so fun. But she says, 8-year-old you wouldn't believe how cool you are. So maybe your 3 goals are to do something that would impress your 8-year-old self. A lot of times I'm like, look at this. I'm an adult. If I wanted this thing, I could just buy it. Like, I don't have to get permission. If I want to eat cake for breakfast, guess what? Nobody's going to stop me. I'm an adult. So what would my 8-year-old self say about my habits and about what I'm doing? You can see some things that folks have done: decluttering, organize, clean, witness beauty and inspiration, organize, compartmentalize. Some people like to divide it into a me, home, and work. One person has a home, work, health, mind, and body goal. Sometimes it's something simple like enjoying time with their family, sharing gratitude with others, resting. Maybe it's a quote that you really like. This one says, a dream written down with a date becomes a goal. A goal broken down into steps becomes a plan, and a plan backed by action becomes reality. So kind of that reminder of how you can get your dreams to kind of come to fruition, if you will. How about 6 things to let go of before the new week begins? Here's maybe some goals that you want to think about. You want to let go of the expectation you have to make everyone else happy. How many people pleasers in the house, right? Maybe we want to let go of that. Maybe it's the weight of mistakes when you were still learning, the pressure to have your entire life figured out right now. I just turned 57. I still don't think I have my whole life figured out right now. That's okay. I'm good with that. um, the need to over explain your boundaries to everyone, right? You don't have to over explain that. The fear that you're falling behind someone else's timeline. Ooh, like, let that go. The guilt of resting when your body is clearly exhausted. How many of us think, I can't rest until I clean this, or I do that, or I have to earn it, right? So really giving yourself that permission to rest. Yes, I see some folks, some people pleasers in there, recovering people pleaser. Yep. So yeah, you don't have to earn rest, right? Rest is yours, right? You can rest when you want to, when you need to. It's okay. It actually is important to rest. So you can see some people, they want to feel present and grounded. So their goals are breathe, move, and notice, right? Very nice. One person wants to feel rested and calm. So they're going to take care of myself so I get well, slow down and do one thing at a time. Oh my gosh, I am so guilty of I'm doing like 20 things at the same time. So it's like I go upstairs, but I have to get this, but then, oh, I should probably pick this up. And oh, I need to get, and then I've like got completely scared. It's like focus. I'm going to do one thing at a time, and I'm not going to overcommit, right? Maybe you want to do a frog fun and fierce, something that the frog is that kind of do the hardest thing first so that it's out of the way, something fun, something fierce, getting outside your comfort zone. And if you don't necessarily set weekly goals, maybe you do monthly goals, so you don't need the weekly goals. Maybe you have some favorite quotes or some podcasts or movies or TV shows to watch. We did just go see the new Toy Story. I think it's the 5th one. It was okay. It wasn't, I don't know that they really needed a 5th one. I really loved the first 3. The 4th one was okay. This one had some cute moments, but it's a fun summer movie. Maybe some new books to read, maybe some fun things to do this week, some songs that you want, maybe some nice summer songs, some topics you want to know more about, some new recipes. Maybe you just want to make this into a bingo board, right? Lots of folks like, um, yeah, Nicole, it was just, I mean, you might love it. You might love Toy Story 5. My husband and I were like, it was okay. Um, but yeah, it's one of those where it's like, I don't know how many times you can kind of do that story. See, Michelle loved it. So there we go. See, it's all about different things, right? I mean, Disney loves to bring out things that people already know, the familiar. The kids in the audience seem to enjoy it. So, and there were some fun stuff. Keanu Reeves, Duke Kaboom has a little bit of a part in there, so that's always fun. And the little girl it is very cute about her the making friends. So it wasn't bad. It just wasn't like amazing. Um, Weekly to-dos, right? So I really appreciate this. I love Frog and Toad, right? And it says, I have done that, said Toad, and he crossed out wake up. Right. So if you need something that is that weekly to do that you want to be able to cross off, you can put things that maybe are simple to do. Yes, Frog and Toad. I love Frog and Toad. Maybe you want some how you can treat yourself. You change it from a to do to a how to treat yourself. Maybe you have some wants and needs, a nice little bingo for how to center. Maybe you want to make it a ta-da list. So as you do things, you write them down. It's like, ta-da, I got this done. If you have a long list of things, maybe you want to plug it into the Eisenhower matrix, which helps you decide how to prioritize what needs to be done, those things that are urgent and important, how you get those done. Some things that are important and not urgent, you have to decide when you're going to do those. So maybe it's scheduling, those kinds of things. Maybe it's a need, want, hope to do list, right? So lots of little ideas there for things that you need to do, things you want to do, and things you hope you're able to do. Simple and fun summer date nights, right? This was from the June ordinary and happy calendar, but you could still use it now. I love the idea of going to a thrift store and picking outfits out for each other. I can only imagine how that would work. Things to notice this week, challenge from Silk and Saunders Instagram, and I'll cycle through all these as you work on them. So work on that. And then our habits and activities, or our habities, as I called them one time when I was talking far too fast. Lots of different ideas for that. And especially in the summer, sometimes people just kind of cover this part with stickers because they're like, I don't need a bunch of habits and activities. I'm just going to kind of chill and do what I need to do. And you don't have to fill in every line. Notice one person has dishes, laundry, and daily ritual. That little goal number is just how many times you want to do that for the week. And then we've got some more Silk and Saunders self-care activities for the mid-year, since considering July 1 will mark the halfway point, meaning we're halfway through 2026. Maybe you want to choose a fun self-love habit. Oops, I'm going to go back. So different things that you can do. So lots of ideas for this. I will cycle through this. I will play a little bit of music, and then we will check back in and we'll keep moving on. Oops, I got too many windows open here trying to like clicky, clicky, clicky. Uh, so hopefully you've got some ideas for how you're setting this up. I saw some different things for how people want to feel going into this week. Um, and then those three major goals, kind of thinking about what you want to set up there. A lot of us kind of set up those goals around what's happening for the week. That's why it's nice to have this different weekly, we get a new week every week, right? So a lot of my goals will focus around getting ready for going on vacation. The nice thing is we've been to Ocean City so many times, it's pretty easy to know what to pack, right? But sometimes that can be a little much. So let's dive into the next page, that side B, as our other facilitator, Katie, likes to call it. It's that kind of the extra page. A lot of times people do a lot of repurposing of some of these things. Meal plan, especially, right? A lot of people are like, this is some prime real estate. I don't know if I necessarily need it to plan my meals. Maybe I have an app or something like that. I think I did the setup. I used this at the setup at the beginning of the month, and I wanted to try some new recipes. And I found this thing about the caramelized bananas in the pan with the butter and the putting it in the yogurt. And have I done it yet? No. Maybe I need to go to the grocery store and get some bananas so that I can do that, right? But I do think the idea of trying um, some fun new recipes, fun new summer recipes, that would be good. Lots of other ideas for things to do with this. Maybe it's a rest plan or some kindness quote doodles, or it is good to plan, sometimes for me to plan dinner. Who would have thought as an adult that was like the question every day? What are we having for dinner? What do you want for dinner? Um, so when I plan it out, it's much better than when I come home and we try to figure it out, because then what do we end up doing? Going out to eat. So that can be helpful. Maybe again, some Zen doodling, some daily affirmations, writing down your weekend reading, some cleaning ideas, maybe some micro habits, writing down some things that you want to do every day, morning, afternoon, and evening. Maybe you want one micro habit from each column for that, and you want to kind of put that there in there. Yep, Jennifer uses it for daily wins. That is awesome. Glimmers, right? We talk about glimmers being the opposite of the triggers. So those fun little things that happen, maybe you want to write that down. I will use it as a packing list, because that way I tend to not overpack if I have an actual list of kind of what outfit do I want to wear each day? What do I need for each day? Then I can be much more tidy with my packing. We've got our mind body health plan. Again, lots of different ways to use this. Maybe you want to write down some different self-care things that you can do. Maybe you want to make a little chore bingo. Maybe, again, this is a good place if you just are planning dinner and you don't want to use up the big space for the meal plan. So this person, I think they have maybe like one of those meal kit boxes, because they have getting figgy with it chicken. I love that. That's I'm a sucker for funny names, so I think that's awesome. Um, Maybe it's something I did well this week, some ways I loved others this week. Appointments, yep, must-dos for the week, things that you've got to get done. And then our shopping list, again, could just be for things you need to buy, things you need to pick up. You could also use it for a packing list, right? Again, things you need to pack. There's your little shopping list of all the stuff that need to pick up there. A quote, right? A fun little quote that you really like. Passion is energy. Feel the power that comes from focusing on what excites you. A little Oprah Winfrey quote there. A little energy giver bingo. Things you can do: get some sunshine, some movement, reading, meditation, rest, nature, music, good food. Maybe it's some errands that you need to run. Again, drawings or doodles can go there. And then that little bottom box is just the I am loving. Like, what are you enjoying? What are you loving? What is making you happy? So you can see one person was loving daily rituals. One person was loving discovering their creativity. We've got the strawberry moon, June's full moon coming, not because it's pink or red, because it marks the season when wild strawberries were ready to be gathered. So have some strawberries. There's one time we went, Glenwood Springs here in Colorado, we'll do like strawberry days, and they have like all sorts of strawberry themed stuff. I'm not sure how their strawberry crop is doing since it's been pretty dry. But those are kind of fun. And then there's my cat sitting on my notebook as I try to work. She has become super needy lately. I don't know what her problem is. She is 19, so we kind of let her do whatever she wants, right? Like little old lady wants to do her thing. But she gets up on my desk now and she just wants to sit there and stare at me, which makes it really hard to try to write and those kinds of things. But I do love my little kitty. Um, so love her while she's here because, she is 19. So I will play a little bit of music now and let you work on this side B page. Let us know what you're doing for some of these different areas. People love to get some good ideas for how you're using this, how Sonder fam are making good use of this page. And we will check back in and then we will wrap things up. All right. I saw lots of fun chat about different recipes folks were trying. We've got kind of team leftover and team I hate leftovers. Uh, so the nice thing about that, I mean, if you know that about yourself, then make sure that when you're preparing food, that you try to keep it to serve just the folks that are there, so you don't have those leftovers. I am all about the leftovers. We really like to do a meal that'll have leftovers, and I can take the leftovers for lunch if I'm going into the office the next day. But I know some folks are not a huge fan of the way it tastes or what it's kind of like reheated. And I did mention, I know I've heard we don't have one, but I know a lot of folks say they have an air fryer and that makes reheating so much easier. And yeah, it is hard to cook with just two people, right? To make sure that the portions are, don't, if you don't want leftovers, right? And I know a lot of folks in there were talking about the different meal kit boxes, right? Because there's like Blue Apron. We used to use Sunbasket. They had really good organic stuff, but it started to get pretty expensive. And then it started to become, because you had three meals and it was like, oh shoot, we have to hurry up and make this one before the stuff goes bad. See some folks talking about they use like Hungry Root. There's one, I think is it Purple Carrot? I know one of our other former facilitators, Karen, she liked that one because that was a vegetarian one. And a lot of them are really good about if you have some food limitations, like it needs to be gluten free or you're vegetarian or vegan. There's a lot more that are there. So those are kind of fun. And that can be a fun little like a fun little treat, right, to sign up for some of those meal kits. And you don't have to do them every week, right? You can always skip those kinds of things. So yeah, maybe we need a cooking club. We used to, way back in the day, we would do cooking socials, and we would cook the recipe that was in the journal for the month. Again, that was Karen, and she used to do that. Yeah, I know the cooking socials were really fun, Megan. You might send an email to hello@silkandsonder.com and say, hey, I would love if we could do some cooking socials. We've talked about trying to bring it back. The bad thing was Karen's kitchen was like so perfect for doing them because it was nice and small, and she was like super minimalist, tidy. Like I can't even imagine trying to, like, I don't want you to see my kitchen. It's kind of crazy. Karen opened her own Pilates studio. She actually, through using Silk and Sonder, she kind of changed up her life, and she ended up she was working for a Pilates studio. She opened up her own Pilates studio there in, I think it's Marin County in California, called Q the Core. And she's been doing great. Like I follow her. You can find her on Instagram if you look up Q the Core. They're doing awesome. They've got those fun little bungee spring things and all of that stuff. So yeah, she's doing great. I will mention that you all were saying how much you missed her. But she's super, super happy. So, oh yeah, Bailey popped in the link to Karen's studio, Q the Core. So super fun. We do miss her. Yes, we definitely miss her here in the socials. Her and Petey, and Snickers, her little dog. Well, I think Petey was, I can't remember if it was Petey or Snickers that passed away, but her cute little chihuahua is so fun. Yeah, her vision board socials were awesome. So we've come to the end, right? It is time to wrap things up. Thank you all so much for being here with us, working on your journal. I will be back this evening leading you through the monthly setup. Please feel free to share any pictures that you feel comfortable sharing from your weekly planner. You know, we always take these screenshots from that app and we share them with everyone. You never know who you're going to inspire. Bailey's popping lots of links into the chat, making sure you're in Sonder Club. Corey, I'm so glad you joined us this morning as well. It's always so fun to see you. I know we don't really see you, but to see what you're writing, to see how things are going. We've got lots of socials coming up in July. Bailey's going to be doing the Wheel of Life social on July 1st, right? So that's a good first of the month ready to jump through. So make sure you sign up for those socials. And I hope you all have a fabulous day. I'm going to head up into the mountains, head up into Bailey. I know there's some people, not Bailey, the facilitator, but Bailey, the city, up in the mountains. And we will be up there, and then I will see you again this evening. Maybe I'll throw some pictures in there. So hopefully we will see you all then, and have a fabulous Saturday. Take care, everyone.